because they said, no, he's teaching hate. He's violent.
Black skin, white mask. Already know that life gets hard. And they say that we're used to the harshness. If it wasn't for the pain, I'd laugh. Truth is, we knew about light before dark. Turned music to art and taught everyone to dance. And still no chance. Freedom must be too much to ask. Bleeding from the ache in my heart. Sometimes I wish it was whites in the middle like France. No, I'm not racist, just jarred. Got hate before bush, not plants. They say we should leave it all in the past, but my brother's still dying on the end, so I can't. So if my attitude stinks, don't ask, cause a hashtag won't help you understand my stance. Fuck a melody, this is real rap if you ever see. Head hot, cause the system won't let me be. Tell me how I thrive in a place that don't cherish me. And they wonder why we all need therapy. Pre the energy, yeah, just another nigga to Penelope. And they don't get it how we bottom of the barrel and still drip sauce on the world, no recipe. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding me. Pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fall, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
We are oppressed, we are exploited, we are downtrodden, we are denied not only civil rights but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
Forgive me if you don't understand. Sorry, I'm just misunderstood. Punished if I try to take a stand. Meanwhile, my friends dying in the hood. And you can say that we're killing ourselves, but truth is they're killing us still. How you saying Black Lives Matter but never took a moment to help? Just a trend that you post for yourself. And yeah, it takes a toll on my health, cause I want wealth like everyone else. But it's 10 times harder for me. And they wonder why my brothers put food on a scale. Yeah, when I die I'll see heaven, that's real. Cause we already living in hell. Wish I could share all the pain I felt. Oh well, I guess I won't speak till my scars do heal. I just wanna be black with a mill. Yeah, that's for every time I had no meals. Cause my mother couldn't keep up the bills. With a handful of kids, no home, just a cell. And I don't care if conscious don't sell. Knowledge brings height to an elf. Went from sitting on thrones to a cell. Been blessed, man, it wasn't by chance we fell. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding me. Pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fall, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Yeah, this is real life. Kaa kimya skia. Real talk. We're coming from the ghetto. Kinondoni, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania mpaka UK. The world finest. Yeah, pambana kijana. Life is too hard, life is too short. Shao kwa nangu wote ghetto. Usikate tamaa. Jua kwamba ipo siku tutatoboa. Tutatoka. Gang for life.
True name. I thought I'd come on and bubble a bit, people, just before the end. I usually come on just after, don't I? Blessed love, people, blessed love. Big up to all the mods in the house, nice and prompt. Yes, big up all the regulars, all the members that are still hanging on. Blessed love to you, people. Blessed love, blessed love, blessed love. We are in promo season. His time is up March 2024. So look out for that, please. That is definitely coming out this week. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it because my daughter is a very busy girl and she's the one that's been designing the logos and stuff like that. So look out for that because we're definitely going to be doing that. We've got a roadshow coming up in Leicester. We've got a roadshow coming up in, I call it a roadshow. I don't know what else to call it, a tour. I don't know what else to call it, but we're going to have a presence in Birmingham. We're coming up with that as well. That's coming up real fast in probably August. And also Leicester, because there's some really important stories. There's a very important story coming up. I can't tell you when, but there are some things that we have to put in place before we tell that story. I'm working really, really closely with the survivor, and that is going to come out as well. And it's a big story going to come out of Birmingham. So keep watching Birmingham, because my God, Birmingham is getting uncovered, believe you me, just like Brixton did 4 years ago. But today, we have got a really, really, really important story to listen to. And it's a story that's long overdue. You know, the sister has been in the vessel in her healing journey, really. We've been talking for a good few years now. And she's got to a crucial point within that journey to be able to come on here and tell her story. And she really, really needs to do that, you know, on so many levels. She is a beautiful, elegant, wonderful thriver. And I want to kind of examine that through her story, because we talk about that a lot, don't we? Moving from victim to survivor to thriver. And she really is the epitome. Excuse me. We're both eating. We spoke just before I went live. And I was like, what we're going to do about my food? I'm like, eat, sister, eat. Like, this is his time is up. Sometimes I come on in my pajamas. We are here in a real space with real sisters and brothers who are about the experiences of the people that have survived these things. They're not about anything else. They're not about the passer. They're not about the sensationalization. They're here to support sisters that, like the ones that are coming on. They're here to support those sisters. And so that's why I love it when we don't have all the naysayers and the idiots in and whatever. And this story is kind of pure in that way, because it's a story that's bigger than our community. And I've noticed an absence of comment, because what can they say? It's bigger than our community. But what we need to understand about the care system in the 60s and the 70s, and even in the 80s and the 90s, we've seen that in Brixton, but right through those generations, our early first generation Windrush brothers and sisters went through a particular thing in that care system. And many of them were exposed to the most disgusting abuse. We've seen what happened with the Jimmy Saville case unfolding. It was from that era. But have we heard the stories of our brothers and sisters that were caught in that system? No, we haven't. Most of the victims that they did show during the Jimmy Savile scandal tended to be white. I don't think I saw one black child that had been in his hands, but they were there. And we're going to hear from a sister that was most certainly there. So I want you guys to send up the most love hearts, the most his time is up love and gratitude for this sister that is about to join us. Her name is Yewande, and she is just amazing. She really, really is. Blessed love, sister. You are live. You can turn your camera off now, sis. Blessed
Thank
love,
you.
blessed love.
Yeah.
Blessed love, blessed love.
Thank you.
Yes, sister Yewande. So, as I say, Yewande
Ogunaike.
the daughter of a slave.
Oh, don't say that.
Daughter of a slave, sis. No, we need to be able to pronounce our names, man, but it's always a bit difficult with our Englishness. How do you pronounce your surname, sis? It's a wonderful
Even I
name.
can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce it as well as my uncle and my auntie who might be on here right now, but it's Ogunaike. Ogunaike.
And I was going to say
Ogunaike.
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 I know you're not
Yeah.
looking at the comments tonight, sis, but there are loads of parts going up for you.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Lots
thank
of
you very
support
much.
here tonight. I don't think we're going to get any detractors, which is a great thing. So, yeah, your story is a big one in the sense that not only is the scandal big, it's had national attention, Islington attention, because they were the sort of principal borough, weren't they, that were placed into care. But take us from the beginning, sis. Take us from the beginning with, because you were in two types of care, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in unregulated care, which is depicted in that amazing documentary by Mr. Andy Mundy Castle called White Nanny Black Child, an award-winning and BAFTA award-winning. So that was 9 incredibly powerful stories about children born here to West African immigrants, and that whole journey was basically unregulated care. So I was in unregulated care for the first, from I think about 2 months, 6 weeks to around about 6, 7. But I'll say it was more around about maybe just past 6, because we went back home to my mum in Hackney around about 6 years old, and then
all right. So let us stop there for a minute.
Yeah.
So during being a black child with a white nanny, and for those of you that don't really understand, it was a trend almost, wasn't it, amongst Nigerian parents who were studying in England at the time to put their children to white nannies, to put them to foster care, if you like, unregulated foster care, where they paid them to look after those children. And when you really think about that, when you put that in an African context, people go, oh my God, how could they do that? And yes, there's been a lot of collateral damage, which we're not going to go too much into. But when you look at the African model, that's normal, really, to seek somebody to look after your children if that's what you need to do. And in the absence of family, and in the disconnect between them and the Caribbean community at that time, they were all Windrush, but they were there for different reasons, but there was a disconnect. That's something that happened quite prolifically, and you were a recipient of that, sis. So when you were in care, in the unregulated care, what was that like for you? I'm going to turn my camera off as well because I really want to scoff my face.
Yeah, it's telling me you're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. They can hear me but not see me, right?
No, you cannot be seen.
In my pajamas.
I promise you can't be seen. I'm about to turn mine off as well. I can't be seen either now.
Okay. Just ask the question again, please, Queen. Can you ask that question again?
So I was saying, tell us what it was like being in unregulated care.
If I put it like this and deal with the positive first, there was one foster carer in Kent, and she was the nicest. We called them grandma and grandpa, and they were really lovely. And I don't think I want to say their name because I just want to stay away from that.
No,
but I still remember their name. Yeah, I still remember their names, and they were lovely. But according to my twin, who knew a bit more than me from my mum, that we were fostered out first in Brighton, then in Barking as babies, small babies, then in Barking, then in then I can remember Kent, and then I can remember Leicester, which was horrifying. But suffice it to say this, somehow my brain tells me that from the very beginning there was sexual abuse from a small baby. Right. But I do know that the nicest experience I can describe to you was Mr. and Mrs. From Mr. and Mrs. Kent, let's put it like that. Mr. and Mrs. Kent, they were lovely. They, I remember them trying to put cream, Vaseline in our hair and smooth our skin down, always giving us sweeties. They had also had a mixed race granddaughter who, so that, that was the only experience I could tell you that was pleasant. And it didn't feel like we were there for very long before we then went to Leicester and were in a horrific environment that I can very well remember. That was horrific. I remember there was a lot of abuse, physical abuse as well, and we were beaten. Let me speak for myself because I don't want to say we, because my sister is going to tell her own story and has been telling her own story. So I just want to make it clear tonight that this is my story and I'm freeing myself by telling my story. So basically, I remember in this foster carer's home being beaten so bad, pissing myself and having to lick it up off the floor like a dog. It was constant every day being harassed by them, their children. I was wetting the bed because I know that I did that up until I was 15. Off and on, and I was wetting the bed, and I remember that no longer I didn't sleep in the bed. I slept in the bath with a dog blanket. I remember having my head dumped under, like they were trying to drown us. Like I can hear them laughing, putting our heads underneath the water, and trying to pretend like they were trying to drown us. I remember having a cigarette. I still have a scar underneath my jaw on my right left hand side from where they put a cigarette out on my face. And this, we were not even 6 yet. I remember going to a school, I believe that was in Leicester, where the teacher would hold my hand so tight, and I'd be looking up and thinking, why is she holding my hand so tight? It was just a very hateful experience. And that was unregulated care. But what happened from there, and I believe that was the last foster home that we were in, is that social services got involved. And I was told all of this much later by 3 teachers who I will maybe discuss definitely later, who had kept a lot of our records, written lots of things down. And I found this out much later, that the social services had got involved because neighbours were talking about what was going on in the house. Wow. And so it was horrific. And I remember at one point that my mum and dad had come to get my sister. She was in hospital for something. I don't know what it was. I think it was something to do with her blood or something. She'd been in hospital, and I was there by myself, and it was scary anyway. And I just remember not having my sister, and even now when I'm talking about it, it was just really horrible. It was dark.
And you think that might have been the last home that you were in?
No, it was the last unregulated foster family we were with.
Right.
It was. And then we'd gone home, and we were at that time in Hackney. So I remember a little bit about my mum and dad being together for a little while. But I remember definitely there was a divide between my mother and my father. I remember seeing them fighting a lot. There was a lot of fighting going on. I remember being very sensitive. I mean, my mother used to get me up in the morning and slap the hell out of me, beat the hell out of me, because I used to wet the bed. So I'd go back the next day and wet it again. And I remember my dad being my hero and coming in and taking it off whatever she had, a belt or a stick or whatever it was, and taking it away from her, and to stop beating me. So he was the love of my life. He was the love of my life. And then there was the divide. And I remember coming back from school one day. We went to Colferton Crescent School, which is in Dalston, Ridley Market. Went to Colferton Crescent School. Yeah. Went there for a little while. And I remember, I just remember that there were some teachers that got involved, and we weren't with our mum for too long because these teachers got involved. I was told when I was older by one of these teachers that my mother and father would leave us with left us with half a box of cornflakes and a bottle of milk. That they were going out to party and leaving us. This is what they had been saying. And I remember being very young, like I said, about maybe 6 years old. We were at Colferton Crescent. My father wasn't present then, but my mother was going to meetings, maybe being called to the school, and she's being surrounded by all these teachers who happened to be obviously at that time white teachers. And they were just like, it was like she was like, for me, it just feels like she was in the center of the circle, like sitting in the round, sitting in the seats. We were next to her, and they were just really like, what did you say? Laughing at her accent. It was horrible. God. She didn't have anybody. My dad was around at that time, but he had found himself another woman, and and started another family. And my mother was by herself.
And that was the era, sis, wasn't it? That was how they treated our parents who didn't understand the system. She had to work. Yeah, she had to work. So she had to go to work. I remember there'd be times we'd come back from school, and she would cook what she would call porridge potatoes, because it wasn't yam at that time. And she'd wrap the pots up, the little ceramic bowls, with towels. And so we'd come in, latchkey kids, were of the 60s and 70s, if you remember, latchkey children. We'd let ourselves in. We had, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. We had Caribbean family on top, another family on top. I remember the really different accents from my parents, which were, now I know, are the Caribbean. And I know my mum was obviously friends with the people upstairs, so they would keep an eye on us. But I just remember, the whole latchkey children thing. I remember going outside to see if Mummy was coming down Sandringham Road, because that's where we lived, and thinking, oh yeah, she's there, quick, run back inside. And pretending to do some reading or something, because she was very strict on us reading and writing. She was very strict on that. And again, my dad didn't just completely disappear,
because he was still coming home. He was being a typical man. He had one wife over there. He had my mum over there, but my mum was fighting a lot with my dad. And I remember at some point before we went into Glenham that my mum had these children, two other children, because we were all shadow twins. And I saw my brothers for the first time ever, like little bundles of joy, and they went straight to nannies. They went straight to nannies. I don't remember them being in the house. I don't remember seeing them wake up or them being around. I just remember seeing them in arms, and the next thing they were gone. And it was me and my sister.
Your parents had two sets of twins. They had you and your sister, and they went on to have both your brothers. Wow.
Yes. So you can imagine her absolute stress now today. When I look back at my mother, she must have clearly broken down. She came from a royal family. Imagine, she came from a royal family where she was the darling. My grandfather had 8 wives and 2 concubines. Word on the street is, he had 8 wives and 2 concubines. In fact, both of my precious grandmothers were first wives, and she was the first daughter of her father. She was definitely precious. She came here and she met my father. They fell in love, and then she ended up in very little time by herself. So, and then all of the rest of the stuff that maybe I'll talk about later when it comes to Glenham, and the fact that I feel that she didn't have a leg to stand on. They knew what they were doing, systematically putting us in that home. They knew what they were doing with a lot of black children at that time, putting us in specific homes. Because
racism was definitely within the system at that time.
Yeah, it really was. And the fetishizing of black genitals.
Yeah, sorry?
Yeah. And the fetishizing of black genitals. So they knew what.
Yeah. From young people that were in care in those days. Even a personal friend of mine speaks about that. Yeah, definitely fetishizing the genitals of black children.
They knew what they wanted.
So you experienced abuse there, physical, sexual, all sorts of abuse. And if that wasn't bad enough, once your parents took you out of care, of
unregulated,
or unregulated care, what happened then? Isn't it? Or Hackney came calling, didn't they?
No, Hackney. Yeah, it was Hackney. So we were there, as I said. I remember we were in Hackney. I remember coming home one day from school. And like as I said, I was 7. So we come home one day from school, and I remember actually at that time, if I remember, it wasn't too dark when we got back from school, so it wasn't dark. So this was the beginning of the end of us living at home with my mum, and I got inside the house, and my mum was sitting down on the bed crying, and everything had gone, and I was devastated. The radiogram has gone because me and my dad had music as a thing together. Well, me and my sister as well, and my dad. But I was the one that I feel he petted because I looked like him, and my sister looked more like my mum. And so she was sitting on the bed crying her eyes out. Everything had gone, just the bed. I don't even remember seeing any sheets on the bed. But that was the beginning of the end, because when we did end up going to Trowbridge House Children's Home in Hackney, I remember it was dark then. It was dark coming back from school. It was dark in a minibus. It was dark. It was dark when we got back to Trowbridge House, and it doesn't feel like we were in Trowbridge House for that long before we ended up in Glenham. We ended up in Glenham in December 1970, and I will never forget, because the sexual abuse started day 1 that night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So take us through that a little bit, sis. So you land in Glenham, you're 7 years old, you and your sister, your twin sister. Hello?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I thought I'd lost you. Yeah, you and your twin sister, you arrived at Glenham that night, obviously scared and confused.
Yeah.
What was the kind of booking in process like? How did they treat you?
There's no way that I can remember what the booking in process is like, but let me tell you what I remember. What I remember, the first thing I remember about Glenham Children's Home was a dark room with loads of children crammed into this dark room. There was a television at the front, black and white one, and I was on the lap of somebody, and either their dick was inside me or their finger was inside me. And that was the first thing I remember about Glenham Children's Home. And it just, yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
excuse me,
sis.
but yeah.
No, that's fine. I forgot to say it's my bad. It's not yours. Mods, can you put up a trigger warning in the chats for me, please?
Sorry.
For
Yeah.
everyone. No,
I
sis, you do
did.
not apologize. Honestly, you don't have to apologize. That's what here is about. For anybody that's going to be triggered or isn't able to manage this testimony, please leave the live and come back later. Okay, so if Mods, you can put up a trigger warning, that'd be great. Go ahead, sister. You do
That's the
not
first
feel
thing I
you have to
remember.
hold back. Honestly, you do not have to hold back.
That's the first. You asked me about the booking in process. That was the booking in
Yeah,
process.
no,
That
that
bit.
was actually quite
Yeah.
detailed, and I remember that,
Yeah.
7, and it was 50 odd years
Yeah.
ago, let's call it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that was the first night. It started pretty much from day one.
Yeah, and that's it. That's what happened. And I can tell you what happened after that was the same old, same old. Staff having sex with the kids having sex with the kids. The bedrooms were like brothels. You had boys landing downstairs, the girls landing upstairs. And I can't remember a night where there wasn't sexual activity, actually. I cannot remember. And I cannot tell you for detail what was happening every night, but I cannot remember ever being in that room, that dormitory, and being at peace. Actually, the only peace I ever had in that dormitory, if you want to call it anything like peace, was when I used to wake up with a stomachache and couldn't go to school. And they'd be like, "Oh, you got a stomachache? Well, here's bread and water. You stay in bed." Blank. Can't see anything else after that. That was the only piece that I could remember about the bedroom, the dormitory that had all the girls in one particular. Well, there were two. There were two actually, if I remember now, because there's another girl I remember. She was in a room. She was older than me. She was older than me and my sister. She was in the room at the front. There was about maybe 3 or 4 of them, older girls. And then there was us who were maybe like prepubescent and maybe up to 13 in the big dormitory.
So they had different rooms for different ages. Are you okay, sis?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, there was I can remember now when I'm speaking, I remember I gotta be careful of saying names. There were 2 or 3 other girls who were older, 4 other girls who were older, and they had a smaller room over on that side, and on the side that I was in were younger girls. We were all like prepubescent and maybe up to 13. The rest were beyond 13, maybe up to 18 in a smaller space. Ours was huge. I can see it right now because I remember getting drunk one night there. I don't know how old I was. There was a bottle of martini. It was given to me. I don't know. I don't know how I got it. I got a bottle of martini and I drank that down. And I remember being right at the head in the room of the dormitory, right at the top. At one point, I remember the dormitory for fighting because I would kick ass for my sister. Kick ass. I would die for her. I would die for my sister. I would kick the fuck out of anybody. Look at me. I was like 7 years old, scrappy little thing.
Wow.
And I would kick ass for myself. I remember being in that room fighting all the time. My sister had to do was cry. All she had to do was cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since there was
okay.
one, it was led by the owner of the home or the manager or something.
Right now, the owner of the home, because it was a privately run children's home, and Islington has made it really recently very clear that those of us in private children's homes, sorry, can't really help you. Because it was privately, even though we sent you there, sorry, it's private. We can't really help you get any kind of recompense.
As well,
Yeah, so it was run by a Mr. Eric Brownjohn, Mr. Eric Harold Brownjohn, and his wife, who we had to call Uncle Eric, and his wife, Auntie Joan, and they had a little cottage in the grounds, because the grounds was massive.
Can you imagine?
It was massive. The best thing about that actually is when I was out in the grounds by myself, because I was by myself a lot, I could get lost. And then we had fields and fields across the road. We had the Shawford Downs across the road, and I would often be by myself up there. And I was always
in Hastings, wasn't it, sis?
No, this is in Hampshire, Shawford, Hampshire. Yeah, and we had a lovely river that I was always at, and there's a place called Lilliput Village that I don't know, it was a miniature little village thing, so I could go and get lost. I could walk through fields forever, and in those days it wasn't, for me, actually, it was safer out there than it was in this mansion called Glenham. So Mr. and Mrs. Brownjohn, to get back to them, they had their little quaint little cottage with their children, Susan Brownjohn, Wendy Brownjohn, and Augie Brownjohn, their son, Augustus. And we had this great big kitchen, great big dining room with this huge table that was like a shape of, how can you say, like, it's like how can I even explain? It was one huge side, then you join to one huge side of tables, join to another middle huge side of tables, join down to like an E without the middle bit, right? So and it was huge. And in the mornings, I remember we would have like cornflakes, cold milk with burnt toast. Most of it was burnt toast with margarine. But Mr. and Mrs. Brownjohn, Augie Brownjohn, Susan Brownjohn, and Wendy Brownjohn would sit at the front with fresh fruit and melon and fresh butter and croissants. And Auntie Joan would come round, because of it all been tampered with at night. They'd been raping us at night. We would all be half asleep. So Mrs. Brownjohn, Auntie Joan, would come round to all of us and bang our heads or our arms on the table and tell us to have better manners than to be falling asleep at the table. Yeah.
And you mentioned that they, when we were speaking, you mentioned that they used to drug you as well, so you would have been quite tired.
Oh yeah, I remember, because I was a gobby little one. And I remember being about in between 8 and 10 years old, and I ran up to a memory off with these two blue tablets, and I must have thought, what the fuck are these they're giving me? Because I was a prolific French speaker at that time, because everybody spoke French. So I must have gone up to a member and said, what the fuck are these? Why you keep giving me these tablets?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, because she went to bed. Okay. And I believed it, of course, because I did went to bed.
But they were actually probably opiates or tranquilizers.
Oh, they were. Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were.
And this is a common theme that we see through these care homes, especially the ones that have been exposed recently, where they're drugging children. I suppose they would have to, wouldn't they? En masse to have so many children.
Yeah. And I don't think it was just in the daytime. I don't think it was just at night time that, they do it in the daytime too.
Hence why they were probably eating different food, apart from the fact that they wanted to be cruel and starve you guys.
I mean, yeah, I think I mentioned that to you as well, didn't I? Because that whole thing is Mr. Brownjohn was all the children that came, whether they came from Hackney, Berkshire, Manchester, Islington, and wherever they came from, he was being funded by that local authority with enough money for us to be taken care of properly.
Well, they give you a supplement even in those days. I believe it was a lot.
Well, I remember I got pocket money. I do remember getting pocket money because that's when my sugar addiction started. I used to run to the shop and buy sweets. Sweets. I love sweets. But what I do remember as well, I remember umpteen times where we had to go into the kitchen, break locks, and eat raw onions, raw potatoes, hence belly aches again as well. We'd go into the garden because they had orchards. We'd eat underripe pears and underripe apples because we were starving. And Mr. Brownjohn and Augie and Wendy and Susan and Auntie Joan were doing just fine in their little cottage.
Total abuses.
Yeah. And then there was the whole thing that me and my sister were the consistent black children. We were there as the first black children. I do remember another black boy that when we went there, he came and went quickly. I remember two Jamaican sisters who came and were there for a little while as well. And I remember two Turkish brothers and I actually met up with these people later, and I'll get to that. I won't go into names and everything, but I met up with these people later in my adult life and young adult life. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh God, I've lost the track.
Take your time,
Yeah,
sis.
yeah. What was I saying? Oh God.
We'll come to you, sis.
Me and my twin sister were the consistent
Black
melanated
children.
people.
Yeah,
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 at the
I know.
home. We were there.
And that was somewhat
Like,
of a novelty for them, wasn't it? For the paedophile
oh
hunters.
yeah, yeah. Sexually too, it was a novelty. That was the biggest novelty. And so it was not. It was, you know, it was sexual abuse coupled with racial abuse because it was every day.
Of course.
Oh, you're right, Nig Noganike. Nig Noganike. Oh, what's the matter? You all right? You have a bowl of cornflakes in the morning. You'll be all right. Don't worry. And then it became, because I changed my name. I was not going to be called. Let them keep calling my name and making fun of me. And so I changed our names. I didn't change my name. I changed our names because I was my sister's protector. So I wasn't having it for her either. And she willingly went along with me changing her name too. So I became from Yewandi, that beautiful name, which means my mother returns to look for me. Right? I changed it to Wendy, and I changed my sister's name to a name that sounded like mine, Judy. So we became Wendy and Judy. Oh, cabarets take them and they cover them in chocolate every day, kicking up the
Wow.
ass, slapping us. This is the staff, not just the kids, the staff as well, every day. And I was the one
Was
that
it
was the
all of the
fighter.
staff, sis? Was it all of the staff, or was there any
There
good
were,
among them?
oh yeah, there were two amazing proper Irish staff. And I mean, when I say proper Irish, with proper Irish accent from, I hate to say this, from real Ireland. I don't know how to say it any better because I'm nervous.
Sure, no, go ahead. sis.
From
We're doing
Dublin, I
just
think it is, yeah. Cora and Septa, I'm going to say their names. They really took us under their wing a lot. And I remember they used to talk to us a lot, but I can't remember what they were saying. But in no time, they were gone.
Yeah, of course they were.
They were gone in no time. And he came up to me, Mr. Brown John, when I was 8 years old. And I can see him now with his finger in my face. And he said, "You bloody little manipulator. It was horrible." He snarled at me.
Wow.
He snarled at me. I was scared of him.
I think one of the Irish staff probably complained. And in those days, there was no
Oh, they
way to
did.
take it up the line.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
couldn't take it
They
up the line in those days.
No,
You know?
they did. And there was also a member of staff who I really loved called Doris, an English lady, obviously, because we were in the sticks. It was very, very rural then. I don't know what it looks like now, but it was very, very rural then. And she was lovely. She was always telling me, "I'll see you on the stage." You know, because I was always singing, and even at school, I was always being called to sing. Right up until I was 11, before I went to secondary school, I was always singing and dancing and doing something. So she was lovely. I remember her always stroking my face. And she always had kind of like a little sad look in her eyes. But she would always tell me, "I'll do great things one day. You're so talented." And then there was a member of staff who I don't really remember her. I remembered her name, but my twin sister writes a blog called the Salt Chronicles or something like that. And she wrote a blog one day. She must have been describing something about Glenham Children's Home. I don't think she may have said the name Glenham, but then, or maybe she did. And then this member of staff must have read the blog and said to her, "Hey, have you got a twin?" And she said, "Yeah." And she said, "I know you. I was there. I was only there for a little while because I left because of the terrible things they were doing to the children." And then fast forward to 2021. I mean, 2021, I had called upon her to, go to Hampshire Police, approach Hampshire Police and prove who she was, because I'd had a great big, it was an interview at the top police station for sexual crime in 2020. Islington had got me to go along for this interview, and they told me, with a video interview, about 2 hours, if not more. And I was told after the interview that Hampshire would get in touch with me after that. And lockdown came over a year later, and they still hadn't. So my sister had said to me, "Guess what?" And I then got in contact with this member of staff. I've still got her email now. She approached them. And they came back with 000. I looked at that email last night for the first time. I couldn't sleep. Just looking at it again, and the police just fobbed the whole thing off. Sorry, nothing. Yeah, nothing. None of the names. Yeah, no, there's no sexual abuse. One of two people said, but yeah, nothing. The 31 people we found. Yeah, sorry, nothing at all. And that's because I didn't go with a solicitor. And actually, the only solicitors I had recourse to at that time from 2019 who really played me around were, guess whose solicitors they were? They were Islington solicitors. And they put me through pure hell from 1919 to 2022 because I didn't know. And just to put it in there, I have a young man, my youngest son, who is 24, but he functions at 6 to 18 months. And he lives with Down syndrome. He's autistic. He's epileptic, he's legally blind, he's deaf, and he's an amazing child. But I had, throughout the lockdown, whenever my son was at home anyway, but throughout the lockdown, I had to have another member of staff with me because of his epilepsy. So I just didn't know my ass from my tit, right? So they could just get away with absolutely anything. So yeah.
Murder.
Yeah, so the only recourse, sorry, just to finish off, the only recourse I had for legal advice or any kind of legal anything was Liz Davis telling me, oh, use these are solicitors here, yeah, here they are, there's their name, here they are, they'll help you. Fuck, did they help me? They were the living cunts, excuse my expression, everybody, but they were the living motherfucking cunts.
Yeah.
Cunts. Excuse me, everybody, excuse me, uncle, okay, excuse me, auntie.
No, sis. We can swear a little bit, but those words definitely we can't do. The live might get taken down.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
They were living. See you next Tuesdays.
Yeah. They are. And what they did, like you said, the double whammy of racism versus that level of sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sister. You know, it's a story that we hear these stories of abuse come out. We hear about young people being abused in care. It's all coming out now. We know about Jimmy Saville. We know about all of these people.
Yeah.
But we don't know the story of the Black children that were involved in that system and the added burden of racism that underpinned everything else they were going through. You know, that is bound to magnify that experience in no uncertain terms.
Yeah.
You know, and to survive that, sister, you definitely need a medal. The comments are going up. You know, you're being congratulated. I know you're not looking at them. You'd rather not, and that's a good thing.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. But not only was it going on in the home, they also trafficked you guys, didn't they?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things that some of the things I can remember, and very hazy because I think we were definitely. I remember this, what do you call it, like a Red Cross or something variety van we were in. I have a vivid memory of this, and I have a vivid kind of, when I say vivid, we were in this van and we were taken to the London Palladium, looking up, see the royal family or somebody, the Queen or somebody sitting in a balcony up there. And I remember going backstage and I remember seeing Jimmy Tarbuck. I today was trying to remember, did I see Jimmy Saville? Because all I see when I close my eyes is him in darkness and an awful, horrible smile on his face and yellow teeth. Mm-hmm. I remember after that, it just being black. Going backstage and it being black. I don't know how many times that happened, but I do remember that.
And we've heard those stories in the investigation about children being taken to celebrity performances, being brought backstage when Jimmy Saville was present, sis. Yeah. Well,
if you've heard them, then of course I know that my brain can only, anybody who's traumatized will know this. Your brain will only allow you to remember what you're safe with. Right, so your brain is not going to expose you to it will like horror. Yeah, the full horror of it, exactly. But I do remember about Glenham, and this was every time, all the time. Remember, oh yeah, who's going to see Jim this Saturday? Yeah, Jim will fix it. It was a joke. We're always talking about who's going to him this week. Can't tell you that I remember whether I was there or not, whether I went there, but I know that all I do know is I can see him still if I close my eyes.
Mm-hmm. And that's how those kind of memories are ordered. You know, people
Yeah.
really need to understand that, is that when you're dealing with early childhood trauma, as you said, sister, the brain has a propensity, and it has a way of compartmentalizing that experience. It breaks it up and it gives it to you in short doses, because for a child to suffer that level of abuse and horror and turmoil in their lives, you know, their brain would not be able to take it. So
That's
the
right.
brain is very clever in the way that it orders those thoughts, so, or those memories as well, because once you're kind of putting distance between the event and those memories, they become even more compartmentalized, and they come up in short bursts, sometimes disorganized, right, sis?
Exactly, girl. Exactly, honey. Exactly. You know,
Right.
like for me, you know, the brain nurtures and protects you as well, because for me, some of the most, some other loving memories I remember that were
Mm-hmm.
consistent, and I can understand this now to a very big extent, is I was followed by three entities all the time. One was a nun.
Mm-hmm.
She always had blue and white on. One was a huge, like 7 foot Indian with great big war feathers, which I can
Mm-hmm.
definitely, yeah, and another figure. But those two are really, really strong,
Mm-hmm.
constantly. And I constantly remember as a little girl always crossing myself. You know what you call that when you cross yourself, like the cross?
Yeah,
You know, the
the
Catholics do.
plastic sign, yeah.
Constantly, it was like an OCD thing.
Just
It's
trying
like an
to protect yourself,
OCD thing. Yeah,
just trying
the
to protect
brain
yourself
was,
in any
yeah.
way.
hmm I
Mm-hmm.
remember, like, I know I'm jumping, but what's coming up for me is how the brain does it. I remember, trigger alert, that one of the sports of the staff constantly was having to do oral sex anywhere. I could be in the garden, on the bars, and then being pulled down and pulled to a corner and having to perform oral sex. I remember a particular child also. From the time I first went there, he was 18. I was 7. I was always having to perform oral sex with him. He was filthy, he was dirty, and he stunk. And I'll never forget it.
It's just abuse from every single angle, sis.
Every single, in the bedrooms and out.
So the older children would be doing that, which would happen because they're being abused from a young age. They're going to pass it on, probably grow up to be paedophiles themselves. That's how it happens.
We
And
were
the rest of
actually,
those who are not going to grow up to be paedophiles are just victims from every
thank
angle.
you. Thank you. We were even in bed with each other. That was the only way we knew how to love each other, was to get in bed and
Yeah.
interfere with each other. That's how we knew in Glenham. That's what we knew. That's what we knew. The children were having sex with each other. The staff were having sex with us. There was the cottage that Mr. Brownjohn used to take kids down to. There was the yacht when we were taken to the Isle of Wight. I remember going to the Isle of Wight. I remember saying to him one time, this was after he'd called me the manipulator, maybe a couple of years later. I remember saying to him one time, how, because we had like 3 lounges at this time now. They developed, they'd definitely gone up a step from the one great big lounge and made 3 lounges, brown, blue, and green. And all the kids with names would come up all the time to go to the Isle of Wight on Mr. Eric Brownjohn's yacht. I went to the Isle of Wight one time. I said, "Oh, my name's not up there," and he goes, "Oh, don't worry, it will be." And it was. And I was about 11, I think, or 12. I also had, at that time, 11 years old, had a member of staff who had taken me as his wife as well. But that's another story for a bit later. I remember going to the Isle of Wight, and all I can see for this day, 2 things I will tell you. I was sick as a dog, and I love the water, but I was as sick as a dog on the boat. I remember then seeing myself, and I still see myself now, with my legs up, my head's on my knees, and my whole dress disheveled, my hair disheveled, and I'm crying. And there's nobody around me. Nothing. And this could have been on the way to the Isle of Wight or in the Isle of Wight. I don't know what the heck, but I know he had that yacht, and I know he used that yacht to take to traffic children to the rich and famous.
Because that's what it was, and we know
Oh,
about
well, I remember Mountbatten's name. Don't know how I remember that name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
another one that we've heard about, Mountbatten. And
Yep,
as you said,
I remember
at
his
the, at
name.
the London Palladium, that was the Royal Variety performance at the London Palladium.
Yep.
Those of us of a certain era all remember that being a glitzy affair that happened. It was a big TV event as well. And yeah, we know that's how they were operating. And of course, you've got a home full of children that's saying, who's going to see Uncle Jimmy this weekend? Who's going to...
Yep.
This was part of Jimmy Savile's paedophile ring. It must have been.
Yep. Yep. It was. It was. It was. It was.
I'm not going to say it's unbelievable. It is definitely believable because we know these people were operating in the way that they were. But as I said, what we don't know is how it affected our brothers and sisters. Because one would be forgiven for thinking it was only white children that were affected by this paedophile ring.
No, it's all of us. I mean, as I said, in Glenham, which is where the really worst stuff ever happened. There was other stuff definitely afterwards, but it wasn't in the systematic way that it was in Glenham. It was terrible. I mean, I did describe, there was a guy, and I remember his name so well, and I know exactly what he looks like still today. And I still believe, my brain and my heart is telling me that this piece of dirt is alive still. He's alive, and they are covering him up, because if I was 11, he could have possibly been just 20 or something.
So he was quite young.
Yeah, but I say 11 because I think that's when it stopped. Because he got the sack. Imagine, from a paedophile ring, he got the sack because he took me as his wife, and he was raping me. And they gave him the sack because I must have had a mouth. Maybe I'd gone to school and said something. It was, I don't know how I was acting out. Who knows? I was probably sitting on teachers' laps and trying to get to their parts. I don't know what I was doing, but it must have become really obvious to Mr. Eric Brownjohn, we better get rid of this one. And they did get rid of him, but he still never left me alone, because I still remember going to school, and me and my twin sister had to walk to school and walk back. And I remember one time walking back, and I don't think it was one time, but I remember this. And he must have got a job as a security guard, and I only remembered that later because of his uniform. When I say later, much later, with a flashback later, after many years of keep getting different parts of this come up, I remember now that I've got the whole of it, is coming up the hill, seeing this man in his uniform. He had a van, and in the back of the van was a whopping great big Alsatian, and I had to get in the back of that van, and it was blank after that. So he still didn't. He didn't.
So he was still stalking you.
Yeah, he was still stalking me and raping me. Yeah. And this is the first time round of me being in Glenham. This is just the first round of me being in Glenham.
You went to Glenham from the age of what age?
From 7. This is December 1975. No, sorry, December 1970. 1970 was the first time, and we left in December 1975, and I went back in again later by myself.
So how did
my mum came to get us. How did that happen? You're asking me, boy. We went back. This is what happened. So we left, and when we left, by the time we left, the social workers that were visiting us were from Islington. All right. When we left, my mum was living in Islington, so we went to live with my mum. In Holloway Road, George's house, and George's Road, N7, and my mum was hard grafter, mate. That woman could work, and she had to work. And there was myself, and we met our twin brothers for the first time ever, and for the first time ever since they were little babies in arms, as I said. And so she had all her children back, so she's working like she does, and when she was out of the house, don't ask me how. Maybe they visited once when my mum was there, but when they came back, they kept coming back because they knew when she wasn't there, she was always working. And they kept telling us, me and my sister and my brothers, you can come to us. Here's the address. Anytime your mum says anything to you that you don't like, come back to us. This is the address. Anytime your mum's really bad or she shouts at you, you can come to us. And that's what I did. I was there we went to, it was. So we were there. We went home in December 1975, me and my twin sister, we met our brothers for the first time. They were little then, they were like 7. We were 12, just past 12. And I had left my mum again by May, June 1976. And I went into several Islington homes, Elwood Street, Conewood Street. No, the first one was Sheringham Road because that's where they told me to run to. Come back anytime. Come back. We're here for you. Ran there. I remember my mum coming that night saying, Wendy, come back. And I was like, no, no, I don't want to eat your beans anymore. I want baked beans. I don't want twin beans. I want baked beans.
At that stage, sis, from eggs and bacon to
yeah, to amala, to fufu. Having to learn. Listen. We went from a stage where we didn't even know how to wash ourselves, brush our teeth, wash our asses, to going home to our mother who would beat the hell out of us for coming out of the bathroom still stinking with dirty mouth.
And I have heard this so many times. Take the abuse side out of things, even from black children that were just in care, that didn't even go through anything, ended up back at their people. And that was definitely the program. So it was a double trauma, a triple trauma again. That transition, wasn't it?
I'm telling you, it was. I remember I'm laughing, but it's not funny. But I just remember my mum, because she was so fierce. Like, I remember, like, when this is before I went back into care again, that I must have gone into the bathroom, or she must have come into the bathroom, and I picked up my towel and put it around me, like, oh, I got my body, I had to protect my body. And she ripped that towel off me, like, like, what am I hiding? What is this? You come from here? And I was like, oh, God, I never forget that.
And the ignorance of our parents at that time, they didn't know.
She didn't know. And even I didn't know why I was hiding my body, except for I know now. So yeah, I then ran to Sheringham Road first. From Sheringham Road, I was put in Elwood Street, then Conewood Street. They're just around the corner from each other. And then I ended up in rural England again. At that time, it was rural. It was Essex. It was Harlow, 56 Rycroft. I ended up there. And I remember Glenham came up again. And I was asked, do I want to go back to Glenham? And I didn't. So I must have said yeah, because I didn't know anything else.
You actually said yes to it?
Because at the time, I didn't have the memory of what was happening to me. I just knew that had happened. You just don't. I knew, at least I knew Glenham.
And Glenham was familiar. Yeah.
And also, not just that, but Conewood Street, Sheringham Road, all of those places. Now, all I remember is dark. I don't remember anything but black, dark. I don't have a memory of what was going on there. So if they said to me, do you want to go back to Glenham? Of course I'm going to say yeah, because I remember there were times that, where I was out in the garden or in the fields or by myself or by the river.
Absolutely.
I remember my friends from school.
Even the way that you recall your days at Glenham, you can hear that when you're laughing about certain things. Those are still your childhood memories. They're still your childhood memories mixed in with the utter horror of what these people were doing to you. And that's how a child's brain works. Yeah.
I was very musical. I would sit by the river and write songs. I wrote a song called Glass Lady. That if my sister's here now, she will remember that song. She'd be in tears now if she's there. She'd be in tears if she could hear this. I wrote a song called Glass Lady about a little girl who they mocked and they spat at, and they passed her around. They didn't listen to a word that she said, and they called her a horrible woman, but she's not. No, I know she's not. And they called her, and she came to the Glass Lady, which is the river. Glass Lady, Glass Love. I don't know. I couldn't have been. I don't even. Maybe I was about 10. I don't know. But I used to love being by the river. I had some memories of rural England. I had horses. The wonderful thing about walking to school with me and my sister, we walked quite a way to school from 7 years old. They didn't take us in no car because of rain, snow, whatever. We had to walk to school. And the beauty of that was I had my own horse, because every time I walked past this field, Prince, black horse with a white pineal gland, would come running up to me like, and I was like, my horse, and I'd hug him and kiss him. I knew what different nuts were: acorns, beech nuts, this nut, this herb, that herb. I'd make my own perfumes. I thought I was, I had some wild stallions or some wild looking horses in another paddock somewhere, cows. There were memories. There was
something that wasn't available to inner city children. If only it was, the experience was wholesome, and that's what you were experiencing, the beauty of nature in and amongst it.
Yeah, it was beautiful. That part of it was really beautiful. But being taken as a wife at a very early age, having to suck to perform oral sex, having to be in a bedroom and not knowing what was going on because you were asleep, but waking up with belly aches constantly and constantly not being sent to school because you couldn't get up and you had a belly ache and being given bread and water. And I don't remember any other children around me at the time in the room that were not going to school. I don't remember my sister not going to school. She might remember, but I don't remember seeing any other child but me. And I do remember, because I was mouthy, I had a harder time. I do remember they used to say, "Oh, she's the good one," to my sister, and I'm the bad one.
Of course, because you were vocal.
Yeah.
And paedophiles don't like vocal children. They don't like
Oh,
children
they
that
didn't.
resist.
They didn't,
No, they
because when I went back to Glenham, taking me back now, they didn't like me. But they must have wanted me back, because they took me back. And this time, because when I'd left Glenham in 1975, we had just started secondary school when we were 12, because our birthday is in September. We started secondary school, and by December, when we went home to mummy in 1975, obviously we went back to London, secondary school in London, where it was the whole African bubble thing. But anyway, so we went back to
then
Glenham.
there's another quadruple trauma on top of that, living amongst your own in London as well, isn't there? Of course,
and kicking off.
We weren't allowed to say that in our Jamaican house. My parents were enlightened, and we weren't allowed to use those words.
But when I think of it now, I understand the whole divide and conquer of it, but I would also laugh, because my twin sister would tell you I was so rude back, and I would kick ass with my little. I'm 5'1" now. I wasn't 5'1" then.
Of course.
I would swear at teachers, because I'd learnt that in care. I would never let my mum hear me swear. Jesus, hell no. No, heaven was too far from me. I could never swear in front of my mum. So I was very good at being a chameleon then as well, because I would behave one way at school. Because that's why I ran away in the end, because she said, "Your school report, you will see what I would do for you when I come back from work." I was out the door and back in Sheringham Road. So when I went back to Glenham, it was 1976. I remember the hottest summer. I was at 56 Rycroft in Harlow. We'd gone on holiday. It was sweltering hot. To me, it was. That's the only time I ever remember then. And then I was 12. It was around about July, August, we went on holiday. And I then went back into Glenham. And the first thing I remember was being told that, "Oh yeah, you won't be going back to school. There's a school on the building, on the premises now." And you know what the next thing is? I remember leaving 14 months later, and the social worker coming to get me. I also remember, I think it was then. Yes, I remember another tenant who was in the home with me. She was a white girl, and she must have had serious mental problems, because she would go around, because we had pets there, rabbits and stuff like that. She'd go around breaking rabbits' necks, kittens' necks, and I loved animals, and so I was scared of her. That was the only person I remember being scared of. She did it in front of me. She broke their necks in front of me. And so I remember that too. And the next thing I remember was leaving there, that a social worker from Islington, and it's like, I'm looking up at Jesus Christ, because he looked very hippie-ish. And then I remember ending up at Woodbury House, Woodbury Hill in Ware Hearts, and that was my next children's home. And I was 14 and some. I was
at that point.
I was 14 and some, and I was definitely bleeding by then. And what I remember now, if I want to fast forward, is that I had a baby. They'd made me pregnant. I don't know how I can tell you I know this, but this flashback came to me in 2019, 20, around that time. I'd had a baby. And so, and as I said, when I got to Woodbury House, Ware, Hertfordshire, I was bleeding. I had a period, and I'd had a baby, and I had that flashback. My brain has not shown me anything else, and I thank fuck for the solicitor that I spoke to from Imran Khan's people, because that's who's fighting for me now.
Who's got your case now, isn't it? Imran?
Yeah, they've got my case. It's the amazing Imran Khan, who's fighting for so many black people right now. And we know he's fought for Stephen Lawrence. So when I spoke to the solicitor, she told me, when I told her, I don't know how I know this, but I was pregnant. I had a baby. And she said to me,
"You've been around the age of 14, sis."
Yeah. She told me it's normal. She goes, the brain will, she was the one who told me the brain will, she goes, you better believe it. She said.
Yeah.
She goes, because and the brain just is not. It's too much for you to take. That's why you don't remember any of that period. And what I
Absolutely.
do know is what I do remember, and even before Islington came back and said, "Oh hi, you one day, good night, oh yes, Miss Davis," blah blah blah. Before all that, I knew that they'd tampered with me somehow, and I knew rituals were involved. I didn't know, and I would always stuff it down. But when that was woken up for me, I'd seen Rosemary's Baby came on, and I saw a little part of it, and I felt violently sick. I had to turn it off, and it wasn't then, but it was after then that I started to know, what did they do to me? What did they do to me? They did something.
Rosemary's Baby triggered that memory, sis.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
And they would have killed that child.
The memory of these rituals, you know, what is the flash of that memory? What does it look like in your
Everything's
mind?
black, dark black space, nothing but black. So I don't know what drugs they were using, if it was constantly the whole time that I was there, from being almost 13 to 14, and September, October, November, 14 and 2 months. It was black. The only other thing I remember was the social worker, hippie-ish type of social worker, coming to get me out.
Right.
I don't even remember going through the grounds, the rule, loving that, and no, I don't remember none of it. Nothing, no thing but black. Deep, dark sleep, black.
And you know, a lot of repressed childhood memories. I know I have a particular memory that is repressed, and I know that there was an episode of abuse that took place on this particular day, and I don't know. I don't remember seeing anybody but myself and the abuser there, but I know for certainty that somebody else was there and that their presence was smaller than me. But I didn't see them, but I know they were there. And people don't understand that with repressed childhood memories, that is the way it comes up a lot of the time. You don't see certain things, but you know without a figure of a doubt that it happened. And that's what happened. If somebody else was there, or in your case, you were in a ritual, although you can only see black.
Black. And then what happened is, when I went to Woodbury House, Wendy was extremely violent. Wendy got very violent. I love Wendy Kent, and she was real, right? She was very, very real. Wendy got really violent. Wendy would have her periods coming, and Wendy would get behind these great big shelves that they had, these what do you call these shelf sets, or these units, these great big from floor to ceiling units. I'd somehow get my little 4'11" self behind them and fling them all on the floor. I would get so angry. They said, "Oh, you've got to see a psychologist. We're going to bring a psychologist. You're very angry." And I don't know what came up, but I must have told him about my the nun that was with me, and the warrior, that they're going to fuck you up, telling them that you're going to get fucked up. I must have been saying something like that. They were like, "Oh, she's saying these pretend friends to make her feel better." No, they won't pretend.
Oh, well, that's another thing, isn't it? Because Western psychology tells us that children that are being systematically abused often invent in their minds protective characters around them, and that they rely on them, and that actually it's a figment of this abused child's imagination. But we know, as African peoples, that they are your guardian spirits that come close to you, and abused children have a very big third eye, you know, and they're often clairvoyant. They often display, as you said to us earlier, talents. You know, has anybody ever asked themselves, why is it that so many celebrities, in terms of talented people, singers, dancers, whatever, are so troubled? Because if you scratch the surface, so many of them have experienced childhood trauma. It's a fact. And we talked about a book, didn't we, sis, called The Drama of the Gifted Child, which I'm saying you need to check out. And everyone needs to check that out, because you'll
send me that, please.
So it is,
I know it's a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. And everything that you've spoken about tonight, the experiences, the disconnect, the re-remembering, all of that is the journey from victim to survivor. Well, like you said as well, we were talking, you've been surviving from day one, because a victim is a survivor. That is so true.
You've got to be a victim first. You've got to be a victim first to become a survivor.
Absolutely. But then you move to where you are now, sis, which is as a thriver.
Yeah.
How do you do that, sis? How do you go from such appalling abuse, systematic abuse from the age of 7 through to when you leave the care system as a young teenager? And we're talking abuse on every scale. If this was a case conference, it would just tick every single box: emotional, neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all of it.
How do I get that? Yeah.
Those are body blows, head blows on a industrial scale for a child. How do you get through that to where you are, the formidable woman? Oh, and for anybody that is wondering what sister looks like, I know you wanted me to show this picture. This is the beautiful sister. Isn't she stunning? Look at her. And that's you holding an award.
BAFTA award! Yay! BAFTA winner. Award winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wendy.
And that is for your part in Black Nanny White Child, which was a
White Nanny Black Child, yeah.
White Nanny Black Child, sorry, which was a powerful documentary about the experience of largely West
African.
It must be
It's okay, babe, it's Friday. You had a long week with me.
Young people, babies that were fostered to white families while their parents were here to study. And this term that they use, sis, what do you think about this term farming? I think that's a slap in the face. It's disgusting.
I really hate it. But I understand it. I actually hate the term, but I really understand it, because that's what it was.
It feels like you were farmed out, but not necessarily by your parents, by the system.
Well, no, I was farmed out. I was farmed out by my parents, and first of all, in unregulated care, because I went from pillar to post. I mean, as I said, the one loving family that I remember, we were there for a very, very short while before we ended up in Leicester.
So you felt, was that your parents moving you around at that time?
Yeah. Because the social services had nothing to do with it, any of them, except for the very last case where there was, obviously some serious abuse going on there.
Do you know the reason why your parents kept moving you from family to family, sis?
Nope, never got to have that conversation with my mother. She died too young. I'm older than she was when she died. Oh no, I didn't get that conversation with her.
I'm just surmising. Could it potentially be because she saw signs that they weren't treating you guys right?
I do think so. I do think so. I really do.
Yeah. It's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, I really do. I've always thought that.
If you think as a mother yourself, if you were going to be in that position and have to choose a nanny and your children were happy and thriving, you would leave them there.
That's right. Yeah. Or you not, because I've lots of stories I've heard from people who said that their parents didn't want them to get too attached and they'd take them out. So maybe it could have been that too. We were getting too attached.
Could be.
I don't know. Could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know that my heart tells me that my mum probably just wasn't happy with what she saw and would have taken us out, or got my mum and dad to say, no, let's move on to someone else.
And so there you are winning a BAFTA at the end of all of this tragedy from growing up in Glenham. And there you are in your proudest moment, looking absolutely stunning, sister. What was it like making White Nanny Black Child?
That was the most intense experience. It was the most intense experience where I've experienced from that, the most incredible highs and some really, really dark moments. It brought so much up. I remember a friend of mine saying, it's going to bring a lot up. I was like, yeah, I'll deal with it. I'm doing it. I don't care. I need to do it. And I did. I did need to do it. I met, there were 8 other incredible people that we'd all had that connection of identity and abandonment. We didn't have everything in common. My story did feel really intensely difficult for me, hearing how other people had felt really loved. Not all, but, just as I said, the whole thing was about, the identity and the sense of abandonment. We all had that. But, I don't want to say, but there's certain stories, if you've watched White Nanny Black Child, where you can see how, there were individuals that felt very, very loved. And even when they went back home, were very, very loved. They'd gone through some hard stuff, but very, very felt love. And I didn't feel that. And I know there's another character, another beautiful sister, sorry, not character, in that also didn't. But from what I knew, there was some actually I can't say, no, I can only say for myself, it was very intense. And initially it was very difficult. You know, I called you several times and we talked about how painful it was for me sometimes. I was in bits about it. And then I was getting people coming up to me telling me that, oh, your story in one hand, oh, your people that knew me, oh, your story. And other times when it was premiered, I'd have people like look at me like, oh yeah, no, God, I can't even talk to you. I don't know what to say, because it triggered them as well, maybe. I don't know. But it was something, and I would forever be indebted to Andy Mundy Castle and Natasha Dack and Rochelle, those three amazing people who held it down. I would be forever indebted to the caterers because we had the most yummiest food. I'll always be indebted to my colleagues because, you know, there was a sense of real strong family for that week for me, really, and the way I was held and heard and connected with. And I still have those connections with a few of them now. And
yeah. And you had a chance to fly to Nigeria as well, right?
Yes, I did. We had a chance to go to Nigeria for White Nanny Black Child, and it won 2 awards. That was awesome. And the biggest thing for me about that was like I got to see quite a lot of Nollywood stars, because I love Nollywood because it was all black, and you know I never got enough of that when I was little. So as crap as the acting was, I still watch Nollywood today because it's all black. So for me, like being there, and one thing really stood out to me. I'd seen an actress called Kate Henshaw, who I adore. I adore her acting, and I saw her come in, and I was like, oh! And I never get stage struck. I never get, you know, I've spoken to one of the Marleys. I have seen Most Def when I was younger, giving me the drooling eye. And I didn't even ask for photographs with them, right? And with her, I was like, oh my God, it's Kate. Should I speak to her? And I just calmed down. I said, no, I won't speak to her. But when I got the guts about, say, half an hour later, I saw her sitting down with some people talking. I thought, do you know what? I've come all this way to Nigeria. I'm going to go and say hello to her. I went over to her. I said, hi, Kate. Are you Kate? I said, hi, Kate Henshaw. She says, hello, Yewande Ogunaike. I said, your name. And she said, your story touched me so much. I wanted to tell you, but that you've come over here now. I was on the panel. We hadn't even had the award then yet. But and can you just imagine? I was stage struck for the first time in my life. And when I see her on Instagram now, I'm like, hey. She's an amazing woman. She was one of the most, and for me, the most down-to-earth people that I'd seen in Nigeria at the awards. She was. I met some other very, very lovely people also, and just in awe of the experience. Absolutely in awe, really.
Any low points, sis?
Yeah, there was a low point, and I don't really want to talk about it too much, but I'll put it like this. Just like, there was a very low point for me because I think that there was a disconnect for me from somebody who I had loved very much in the production. I really loved her, and I could not understand what happened because there was like a complete breakdown and meltdown of communication with this person. I could not understand why, because if I'd have done something that bad, I thought we were such good friends, you could have actually come and spoken to me. And I know that towards the end, I was feeling a little bit like tired and I wanted to go. And, I'm not perfect. I don't know. I may have said something that triggered somebody. I know the last point was I said goodbye to the driver as I was going. They called me to say, the driver's going. And I was like, okay, see you, bye. I was in my own head about other stuff. If I'd have done something wrong, speak to me then. But she didn't choose to speak to me then. She chose to actually verbally and physically accost me, which was the most degrading thing. And so we are no longer friends. And that was a really low point for me, because what happened after that is she'd acted in a manner that was so out of the blue to me, right? That I had a reaction. I had a Wendy reaction several weeks later, and I called her. And I left a message on her social media to let her know that if I ever see you ever pull that stunt again, I will have your ass. And I didn't even think I was ever going to say this, but that was the lowest I'd got. I'm sorry it's out there because I wanted to be able to make sure that I put myself out there and told
Sure.
my part of that, because what was coming up from her was, you talk about my man, my ex. She said all these things. I did not understand how she could have gone there, because we spoke about those things, really delicate things together, and how she could then start using this in front of the director. I was so embarrassed. And at one point, the director had to jump up out of his seat to stop her, because she was behind me and she was going to smash something on my head, or slap me around the head or something, because he was out of his seat, and pushed her out of the way. Within 10 minutes, we were in the car and she was like, all over me, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, hell no. I
Sis,
wasn't ready to forgive you 10 minutes later.
When you get a group of traumatized people, especially people that have suffered historic trauma, childhood trauma, and you put them together, it can often be like iron against iron. And that's probably what happened in that moment, you know?
Yeah. I can forgive. I can easily forgive. But when you're going to lie on me, you take me back to Wendy, and I'm not. Hang on. I can forgive easily, but I can't forget. So I'm not big on a lot of people in my circle anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you show me that, and we've shared so many things before that, and you even paid for me to go on the trip, and then you're going to treat me like that 10 minutes later because we're only there for a few days. No, I can't let you back in my heart. That's
going to trigger
another downside of it. Yeah.
Part of you, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's so sad, because I really thought that there was love between. I loved her. I still do have love for her, but there's no way I could ever no. And that's clear as well. That is definitely very clear. And I saw that, unfortunately, at the celebration.
Yeah.
So there's two of them that I don't, that's irreparable now for me. So I'm putting it out there. So whoever's listening, and you've heard whatever side of the story you've heard from anybody else, you've heard my side of the story now. And, and at the celebration, it was kind of quite sad that I, again, because I felt like I was poked then as well. That she said something really silly when I was walking past, trying to climb over to get to my seat. She had a little audience, she had a little support team there, and I'm sure she wanted to poke me again. But again, just like when I was sitting down, I just tried to finish off eating my food and just ignore it. This time, I just looked at her and walked straight past. I wasn't going to let that rain on my parade, then and now.
Wonderful.
And I know that we're sharing this because you know how unhappy I was with that.
Yeah.
Unhappy that I stooped that 6 weeks later or 4 weeks later, I had the the delayed reaction and cursed her outside of herself. And you know how that was me, because I was very unhappy.
To get your side of the story out in that regard, because it was something that kind of tainted the experience for you, wasn't it?
One of the things, I came back and I didn't say anything to anybody about it. I didn't say any. I didn't go to the others and say, "Oh, guess what happened?" I didn't do that. It's just Chinese whispers started to go around, but so much so that I couldn't even go to the wedding of two of my family in white nanny black child family who got married. I couldn't go to the wedding because I didn't know if people were going. There's certain people that were going to be there. The person and the other person that comes with that person were going to be there, and I didn't want to spoil the environment, and I didn't want it to be about, oh, guess, did you hear what happened? Because there were Chinese whispers going around, and I'll still call it that, and I still call it that.
Hopefully one day, sis, you can be involved in a documentary that talks about Glenham and Islington, and they can really bring that whole thing out into the light. That would be something, I think. So where are you at now, sis? You've been getting therapy since the age of
40 years.
40 years.
40 years. Actually, coming up for 41 years now, actually. 41 years. I started when I was carrying my first son. I've got 3 kids, 1 girl and 2 boys. And when I was carrying my second child, I was still seeing a social worker. I was 20. I was still seeing a social worker who was coming to my house regularly in Islington. And this happened to be a good social worker. And she stepped in and she said, I think you need some help. And I said, what? She goes, therapy. And I thought, like, what's that? Well, you can just go and talk to somebody about how you feel. I thought, yep, I do that because I'm good about talking about how I feel. I'm good about that. That's helped me a lot. So I went along and I went to the first multicultural therapy service in England called Nafsia in Finsbury Park.
I know Nafsiat very, very well.
Yeah, Jaffa Karim, who was the one Jaffa Karim was the one who opened that, and Jaffa Karim was my therapist right up until he died.
I know him very, very well.
An
Absolutely.
amazing man.
They were one of the
He
first
absolutely.
black therapy services, and they also studied the same model of therapy that I have studied, which is intercultural therapy. Not many black therapists in this country have studied that. And that's why I don't refer, because our brothers and sisters need that. It was on the it was taken up by Goldsmiths as a course. I forget the year. It lasted about 2 or 3 years, and then Goldsmiths scrapped it because they said that there wasn't enough uptake. So what
Of
does that tell
course.
you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of
But I
course.
hear you landed in the best of hands, sis.
I did. And
That was
again, that was
extremely lucky.
guidance.
Yeah.
That was guidance. That was the guidance that I had throughout my whole childhood. That clairvoyance, that psychic guidance of those guides who are still with me
Uh-huh.
today, guided me to that social worker who guided me to Nafsia, who guided me to Jaffa Karim, who so loved me that he taught me to meditate when I was from 20
Mm-hmm.
years old. He taught me that I was worth something. Every Christmas, he'd buy me a bottle of worth, and he was really stepping outside. But he wouldn't come to my house, so, he'd leave it at my door and run off and then make me an appointment for the next time. He was an amazing man, Jaffa Karim. Sometimes I close my eyes and I still see him and I still hear him.
Yeah.
He encouraged me my writing. He told me that at that age, at 20, he told me you'll write a book one day. And I'm now 61, and that trauma did not stop from Glenham. That trauma's followed me my whole life, especially this last
Mm-hmm.
24 years, having a young man. I had my son in 2000. He was
Mm-hmm.
taken away in 2011 because I could not cope with the minsicle that Southwark were giving me through racism. And because I knew the law, they would give me a minsicle. He ended up in care, and they were going to go and put him back in a paedophile ring. Don't ask me how I know, but I fucking know, because they were putting him with a couple who had no idea of disability. They'd never had any children in their life, and they lived off the M25 somewhere, and they were ready to go and give my son to this couple, same-sex
Sis, they
couple, but not
try
that
they
nothing to do
try
with it.
their
But
hardest with young people like yourself that's been through the system and the grind of the system.
thank
They try
you.
their hardest to take their children. I've seen this
Yes.
pattern for myself. It's almost like they want it to be generational, or in the
It is.
same way that they
I
bred us on the plantation.
That nearly killed me. I fought for 3 years. He was in care for 3 years. 2 years I was in the court. They put me through hell. Suffolk insisted that I must have supervisors in my house for when my son came home once a week. And for a whole year, I had a change of about 13 different supervisors, two that were consistent. And thankfully for them, they wrote overwhelming reports that this child should not be in care. This Southwark Social Services needs to help this mother. She hasn't got anybody. That nearly killed me. When he came home, I went from 22 and a half hours a week. This is with a young man who's chronic epileptic, and the rest. They put my hours up by 2 hours. I had to fight to get 24/7. I had to fight to get 24/7. I got to 2018, and a solicitor got me 24/7 care. And still to this
Wow.
very day, they are still harassing me because my son has now moved to 5 minutes behind my house. They tried to get him out of London, out here, out there. I said, no, no, no. I went and asked them in 2015 for this place. They told me no. Then they finally gave it to me 2019, but he didn't move till after lockdown. And do you know that two service providers gave me nothing but hell? Not so much one, but the woman. Hell, 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 hell. Just purely racist. Purely racist. And they're still making me fight today. And guess who I'm fighting? I'm fighting a Nigerian social worker who basically, when I told her a little bit about what I'd gone through, she told me, don't worry, she had a friend who was raped when she was a child. Jesus saved her. You just need to go to church. And culminating in 2 years later, asked me, what's really wrong with you? No, what's really, really wrong with you? This Nigerian social worker. Hello.
Have you reported her, sis?
I have felt so overwhelmed with what's been going on. My son still sees it. He's like a zombie now. He's like a zombie. He's gone from being here and I could tell them, no, he's not having that medication. No, we'll do this. Thank you very much. They've been putting on medication. I need to go and get deputyship, which is going to cost me not just money. I don't mind that. The time. My brain has kind of really had enough. I feel like I'm chasing my tail. And this is what they want. Southwark have got what they want. So somehow the guidance that guides me will helped me to find someone to fight them. And guess what Imran Khan's people said? They said, we want to look at you first. We will look at your son afterwards. Because he was abused in care. He had a detached retina. He's now legally blind from being in care. He also had a boxer's ear. Both things could have killed him. And he was in the care of a Ghanaian, who I told him was a madman. And Southwark was like, nah, we're leaving him there. And they did. And that's another story for another day, because it was horrific and it nearly broke me. And I was cut off from my whole family. Yep, for another day.
Wow.
And I'm still now having to deal with him. I've just complained about a member of staff who I've seen in the supported living facility be abusive verbally to another tenant, because there's only 3 of them in the flat, cared for 24/7. I saw what she did. She didn't know that I saw her. I couldn't complain because it took me back to Glenham. I couldn't complain to the 2 managers because I'd already been shown racism by one of them. Really bad. I had nobody who was hearing me. Nobody was helping me. I kept it on lockdown. I did tell the person from Islington who does some emotional support of me. So she wrote everything down. But I'm about to bring it all up now. And also the case from the Ghanaian guy and the social services Southwark. They told me at Brixton Prison that his case will never go cold. When you're ready, come report it. We're here for it. Oh wow,
brilliant!
So I will be. So I'm hoping that Imran Khan will take that case up for me too.
Excellent.
My son, my children. Lie.
It's not easy to get in with Imran Khan. It's in within itself, isn't it?
Yep.
That's a blessing.
It's a testimony. That is a testimony. It's going to be a testimony. This is the reason why, I was saying to you all this week and from the last couple of years that we've been talking, I'm too scared. I'm scared because I was even told, be careful because they can come for you. And I can't. So when I actually told the solicitor who's dealing with my case, she goes, yeah, let them come. She goes, because Imran is part of the King's Council. So anything that happens to you will be noted and documented. They can't do anything to you. Absolutely. And any paper that Imran Khan asks for, they have to provide every single. So when we went to the police in 2020, they told us, oh yeah, sorry, there's no names, no such thing, blah blah blah. We didn't have a solicitor. We had Islington that Liz had said, come to Islington, who's another story. Yeah, we had Islington who were not fighting for me. They were just burying me. Even when we got the 10,000, they said, we give you 10,000. It's not compensation. But if you take us to court, we want it back. Do you know how long they took to give me my 10,000? Do you know how long they took to give me my 10,000? They were disgusting. They were disgusting. The help they were giving other people, they helped their white people, the help they were giving other people, they were not giving me. I do have support from the emotional support worker. She's had to stay with me. She's had to stay with me because otherwise I would shout and I would shout really loud. And I told Liz that I think that something funny is, and I don't trust her. Mm-hmm. In so many words, she knows I don't trust her. I don't trust you, Liz. I know you don't like me, and I don't know you don't like people like me. And you never chose one fucking black worker as your support team for the children who are black. You never chose for adult children. You never chose. All of your workers are middle class and white. Why is that, Liz? Why were you called as a whistleblower? Why were you the whistleblower, middle class white Liz? Why?
Is she the whistleblower from Glenham?
She says I'm the whistleblower from Glenham. I am. She didn't even know about Glenham until I came along. And she had stuff up on that website on her Islington Survivors Network about Jimmy Saville, and she took it down.
Wow.
Why? She works for Islington. She works for Islington, and they told her to take it down. I was shocked.
In the extreme.
So that's when I lost respect for you, Liz. I lost respect for you, love. Liz Davies. I lost respect for you, love. My love. Yeah, my love, babe.
So where you're at now is that Imran Khan has taken up the case against Islington. Yes. And Glenham is no longer there. Glenham has been pulled down, hasn't it?
Brick by brick. 1970 something, 79 or something like that, brick by brick.
Yeah, they hide their evidence.
Yep.
They hide their evidence. And it's not unusual either for them to entice children like yourself back when they've gone back home, because their fear is that you start disclosing in that new environment. This is
which
what
is
they
why I
do.
can't remember blank about what happened, except for that I know walked in, the one breaking the necks of the cats and the kittens and the rabbits, and the pregnancy, which I didn't remember until 2019, 20 onwards, and coming out with the Jesus Christ looking social worker, and ended up in the front room that same day, or the office that day of Woodbury House, Woodbury Hill, where another big mansion, another story for another day.
And it was
And,
literally out of the frying pan and into the fire in that regard, wasn't it?
yep, that was in Islington Home as well, and that was back into the fire, and the sexual stuff as well. It wasn't as systematic, but it was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
With Uncle Jack keep walking into our bedrooms when he knew we were all nude. Yep. And Mr. Bamford. Yeah, nasty people there.
Even the fact that they made the children call them uncle and auntie in those days, they don't now.
No, but it hasn't stopped. They don't now, but the abuse hasn't stopped though.
Oh, the
Young
abuse
people in
is
care, yeah,
as rife as
and the abuse is still happening to children like my son, who cannot speak for himself.
that
He's,
is actually
and
where it is most concentrated, is with neurodiverse young
yep.
people with difficulties, because they can't speak, and that's the perfect environment for these people.
Well, I'm hated in where we go. I'm tolerated because Southwark know my name. The people there know my name. They do I guess they do their best, but the staff in there, who all happen to be Nigerian, they don't like me. I wouldn't say all of them, but I know some of. Definitely wouldn't say all of them, because a couple of them I've had to be one-to-one with them when I take my son to music therapy, and I was taking him, and I know that I know there's a really good respect there, because we talk and they talk to me in a really nice manner. But I definitely have problems with some of the women that work there not liking me at all. At all when I come, I'm like a dirty word, and maybe that's because as well the managers do this whole divide and conquer thing. It's sometimes very scary for me to go there, but I always have to put my big girl pants on, because I've got nobody to protect my son but me, and no one's protecting me but me.
And probably because you're vocal.
Very.
Do you understand? A lot of them are fresh. They've come over to do a bit of care work. They haven't got the skills really, and that's why they treat the young people as they do, because they think they're back home, and they're intimidated by you. That's probably why they don't like you, sis. I've been around that cohort of people from Nigeria, from Jamaica too, and they're like somebody like me and you in that environment, because we will call them on it.
You know what? Even when we do call them,
in terms of worst practice, not best practice.
Well, even when we do, like again, I was telling my cousin today, my son, when he was living here, we had at the time when we always had to have a carer when he was here. If it's not a college holidays, he was always had a carer, and then there was a carer who was here. He thought I was going to not be back till later. This is not the first time this has ever happened, but with him, this was an example. He didn't think I was at home, and from my bedroom, if you come out of my bedroom, you can look down the stairs and see what's going on at the bottom of the stairs without the person necessarily seeing. If you just peep around, he brought my son back home. He stripped my son at the bottom of the stairs, and he was proceeding to send my son upstairs to walk so he could walk behind him. I said, "What the fuck are you doing?" Called the police. To this day, 2 years, 3 years later, do you think the police did anything? Fuck all. I've still got details though. So when I'm ready.
How old was your son, sis, when this happened?
So this was 2018, 19, I feel 19. This is before lockdown.
How old was your son?
19.
He
19. But my son is mentally 6 to 18 months.
Yes, of course.
Functions.
And so this
can't tell you anything. This is one of the carers in my house. Yeah.
You came in and found him doing that?
Yep. I was upstairs in my bedroom. I'd heard them come in, and I was in my bedroom. I thought, okay, let me just. I looked, and when I looked, he'd already stripped my son and was proceeding to. I said, "Well, how dare you?" I said, "You think my son's got no sense of dignity?" I said that you could strip. I said the bathroom is just there. How dare you? And the fact that he was going to be walking up the stairs behind him naked, and definitely there was something that my gaydar was on, because I knew he was gay from a long time. We all knew in the house. We all knew he was gay. Jamaican
he was
guy.
a gay paedophile by the sounds of things.
Yep.
just relentless, isn't it? It's just a total cycle. And
So
as I
the
said before,
support.
the way that they choose to, care leavers,
Mhm.
they take set on care leavers. In my experience, I've seen it. In fact, quite recently, in the job that I'm in now, I've seen it where they take set on care leavers. It's
Yep.
almost like they want your life.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Even the
Yeah.
environment they set up for me when I left care was to go across to 18 Highbury Grove, which was the halfway house for us who'd been institutionalized all our life. And we get our own little flat in there. We have to wait for our own very own flat.
They've got
And I
similar
didn't,
kind of setups now, sis. A similar type
yeah.
of thing going on now.
Well, I ran away and I was on the streets. I was on the streets with my friend and we pimped out our girlfriend. She was already a prostitute, so we helped pimp her out. She was happy to be pimped out. I'm sorry to say that, I know it sounds awful. She was happy to be working because she was working, and she was happy that we were taking care of her. I know it sounds awful, but that we were taking care of her. We were taking good care of her. We were taking good care of each
better
other.
you girls than some nasty pimp that's going to
Yeah, we were taking good care of each other. We were sharing our benefits and sharing everything. We were taking, and so I ran away rather than being at halfway house. And then I ended up pregnant a few months later. Yeah, absolutely raw.
Wow. Sis, you are a thriver, as you say.
I am a thriver now. I've done the surviving bit. I've done the victim. I've done the victim. I've done the surviving. And this is not to say that sometimes I don't ever feel like I'm a victim still at times, or I'm just having to survive. But I am learning to thrive now. I'm learning to thrive, and I'm doing things, and things are beginning to take shape for me, so that I can give every single thing that I have ever learned and earned back to a community. Back to a community of kids who are in care, back to a community of kids leaving care. I've experienced domestic violence more than enough times. Back to women and children. Back.
And that's definitely where you're at now. That's, whether that comes in the form of a book or community work, you're absolutely ready for that now. And I can hear that.
I was doing it before my son came. I was doing it before my son came. I actually had a whole program before they ever even had anything for kids leaving care. It's way before my son came. I went to Hackney Approach and they teached it. I was doing all that supporting families before. Yeah, they did. They teach it. I was supporting families before my son came, long time before. But now where I'm going is I'm going to do it from my perspective with help from people who are actually working with young people in care. And I've already been speaking to some people who have been very helpful. One is the Reese Foundation as well. Very.
I've got Heaven in the comments, is Heaven's World. She says, people throw some hearts on this comment for this queen. I think she's heard you speak before.
Oh, Heaven! I know you. I know Heaven.
Yes. So she's watching as well, sis.
Yay, Heaven. Hi, Heaven.
Somebody else says, Mr. Hussein one says, Wendy does what she needs to do to protect you one day.
Yes, sir. I would never be ashamed of Wendy, ever.
No, we like Wendy.
Ever.
Wendy is the fierce protector. She's your inner child that helps keep you safe. Absolutely.
Yes, she is.
I'm going to put the link out, as I do, which is customary. For anybody that wants to join, jump on, give sis words of encouragement, validate anything, share an experience, whatever you guys want to do. There it is.
Thank you.
There it is. That's it. But sis, you tell your story with such humor. That's the most inspirational thing about you, I think, my sister, is the fact that you are able to look back and, in a sense, laugh at yourself in that experience. And that's so enriching. It's so heartening for people that have been through that experience to know that you can get to a point where you can recall it in that way. It doesn't always have to, although the pain is always there, it dulls somewhat when you're on that journey to thriving.
I think for myself, to speak for myself here, my uncle who will be here will know this, and my son, who I'm not sure if he'll be able, I don't think he would have been able to take it. It was very, very hard for him, and my daughter. But my uncle, who I do a lot more opening up to because I can, obviously, as I have got a sense of humor. But my uncle's seen a lot of my trauma. My uncle's seen the Wendy side of me a lot. He's seen the suicidation that I've lived with since I was a little girl. And he's the one that's like, come on, back, come back, come back. You're not going anywhere. Nope, you're not. Nope, you're not. You're not coming. You're not. There's been days I ring him and say, Uncle, I can't do it. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. So
And that's the
suicidation, what that
darker
looks
side.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, suicidation, what it looks like, what it's always looked like my whole life is I don't want to be here. Please, I need to go. It has never and never will be a plan, right? Because if it was a plan, I wouldn't be here now. It's never been a plan because I had my children to look after. And that made
It's
me,
ideation.
yes, ideation. It's never a plan. Yeah, that ideation is what Southwark decided to take my son away from me for.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they won't give me enough time.
That's not supposed to happen. Not for
They
ideation.
came. No, it's not. And, they actually wanted to bury me because they came to court at one point within this 2 years I was in court wearing black glasses, black suits with smiles on their faces because they thought the judge was going to say, yeah, no, we're sending him down the M25 where you said. But she said, no, actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to prepare for him to go home. So, yeah, then they went to court again a little while later and I won. So suicide ideation is something people need to take seriously. It does not actually mean you're going to commit suicide. And just very recently, since the white nanny black child, that suicidation has come up a lot for me. And I actually was approached a suicide organisation, very middle class, somewhere in, was it West London? I think it was West London. I'm born over there. I don't know the area very well, but I know everywhere else. And I went there and they were like, yeah, no, so we can't help you. I thought, because my name's not Pollyanna or what?
They're obliged to give you support when you're ideating. They're not supposed to use that against you.
They were telling me it's not enough. Sorry, we've got clients here who are actually committing suicide. I thought, all right then, thank you. They don't know how painful suicide ideation is. They have no idea.
And trying to stop that from turning into a full-blown plan is quite a work. This is what they don't get to realise. Sister Heaven is here. My sister.
Hi, Heaven. Hi, Heaven.
Hi. How are you,
darling?
Auntie, your Wednesday?
I'm good, darling. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I am well. I listen, before anything, it's all about you. So right now, I would just love for you to just together, all of us, everyone in the comments, Auntie Afua, all of us, if we can just take a minute and just do 3 deep breaths together, especially you, Auntie, because what you have just shared, it's not simple, and and when you, so please, if we can all close our eyes, close your eyes and breathe in your nose and hold it for 5 and release out of your nose. Keep your mouth closed, just your nose, and release out of your nose for 5. So after 3, let's do it together. Yeah, let's close our eyes, breathe in, hold it for 5. And release for 5. Inhale again for 5. Release for 7. And then on the last inhale, when we inhale for 5, I want you to inhale your favorite color. Imagine that favorite color going all the way into your nostrils and going through your body into all the parts of your body that feel stiff, that's been giving you pains, back pains, anywhere. You're going to inhale that color. Imagine it as a smoke going into your nostrils and all the way through to your body, yeah? So inhale, breathe that color in. And release.
Thank you for that, Sister Heaven.
Ashe. Ashe, 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 ashe. Yeah, ashe. I'm so proud of you for sharing your story. and for being a voice for many, especially many in here, because I can feel that there's some of us in here that actually cannot even believe and fathom that this is real. It sounds like it's something out of a horror story.
Mm.
And I know there's others in here who this has triggered greatly. And both is warranted. Both is okay. The main thing is that you shared your story. And it's not your responsibility.
I'm free.
You're
free. This is what I'm free, and this is it. This is it. Just, if you don't mind me saying, please, let me say this.
Speak.
When I was talking with Afua this week, it started off with a lot of hypervigilance, which I'm very used to, and feeling a lot of fear. And I told her, because I do a lot of work, spiritual work on myself, because of where I came from as a child. That's what got me through this connection with my spirit. So I said to her, I'm going to go and have a conference with my spirit team, and my auntie and my uncle who are here know what I'm talking about, because they really helped me with maneuver around that. And I said, I'm going to go and speak with my spirit team. And what I got from them was very clear, that this story that you're telling, remember, this story you're telling is not so much for other people, it's to free yourself. And if it helps just one person, thank you very much. But this story is helping me. That I told this story today helps me to free myself, to continue the practice of healing, to continue, because healing does, there's a lot of people that have turned around and said, oh, you need healing, you need to heal, oh, you need, of course I need to heal. And I will never, to the day I die, I will be healing. Thank you very much.
You are healed. Auntie, you are healed. No, Auntie, I want you to know that you are healed. No, Auntie,
healing.
you know they have this thing. They tell us you cannot call yourself a recovered addict or alcoholic. You cannot you cannot say you are healed. No, we're changing that narrative. Yeah, you are healed in this current moment right now, because you don't even know if you're going to be here tomorrow. So we're not going to say we're healing for the rest of my life. No, you're healed now. Yeah,
you spoke, that's right.
You spoke, you let it out those systems,
yes, for real.
You let it out the cells, and that returned right back to the sender where it came from.
Yes.
You are healed.
Yes, uncle. Yes, Auntie Sharon. And most of all, to my beautiful son, my middle child, that one who is the rock, that middle child of mine who is the rock, and my nephews. Thank you.
Ashe.
Because a big part of my healing was raising them, and some of the fun that we had when they were growing. It wasn't all easy, but we had some fun. We listened to music. I passed some of those things on to those children.
Oh,
it's not all easy with my children now, especially my oldest. We're very estranged, but I am healed, and I will continue to work on that healing.
Yes,
because there will be, yes, it is, because there will be days where I will feel like a victim. And there are more days where I will feel like a champion, like a victor, not a victim.
That you are.
I've gone from abandonment to abundance. And my daughter-in-law, we sat down, me and my daughter-in-law, about 4 or 5 years ago, when she was pregnant with my second of 3 granddaughters, of 3 grandchildren, and we came up with that title. I came up with it, and she was like, yes! From abandonment to abundance. From victim to victor.
I was going to say, sis, in response to what Heaven was saying, what you're saying, I believe that we are healed and continue to heal, if that makes sense. So we are healed, and when we are healed, we're able to offer that healing back to others in the circle. And we are forever, or we should be forever in a state of ascension, So in that regard, we are always healing, but we get to where we are healed,
Yes. It makes a perfect sense. And I take it on and I wear it well. It on and I wear it well.
Yeah.
No shame, because the greatest tool that they used was guilt and shame. And how they did that is
silence.
They done it through silence, right? Because they've done it through religion. Religion was always teaches you that sex is a bad thing, because they knew what they were doing in those churches to children. So they make you believe that sex is abomination and sex is bad and only sex, they made sex such a big taboo because they knew they were harnessing energy, harnessing people,
Oh my God,
children
yeah.
from
Yeah.
sexual energy. So that's
Yeah.
what made this whole shame come, where you think now it's your fault what somebody else is doing to you, knowing full well everything it was pre-planned. They did that to program us so we feel guilt and we feel shame. Once the guilt and the shame is removed, nobody holds any dominion over you, because now you don't care if you look crazy. You don't care
For
if
real.
today you're well spoken, but tomorrow you're acting ratchet, because you don't business. Because you know what? Those days you still got paid. And when I say paid, I'm not talking about with money, you know. I'm talking about paid with abundance. Like, I'm talking about, you might not have even had money in your bank account, but someone came and blessed you that day, put food in your fridge. Like, you met the correct, you know, person to go and go through those doors. You got a BAFTA award. Hello, can I beat my shamanic drum?
That's right. Oh,
right? We're not ramping out here, you know, because you see what you spoke right now. You have actually put a vibration. You've raised the vibration into the planet. You've raised the frequency into the planet, because we are vibrational beings. Yeah, this body, this physical body is makeup. We are vibrational beings. What you have done, you have freed some little child right now that's going through what you're going through. They don't even know why all of a sudden now they feel a little bit more free in their self after what's just happened to them, because Auntie Yawanda just spoke her truth and raised that frequency. You understand? Listen. That's not hocus pocus. That's not something they taught us. This is the truth.
Sister Heaven, of this platform. This is why the platform exists. And Sister Heaven, I always love you for verbalizing that.
I love you too.
Absolutely.
You understand? It's like that is why we exist. We have to speak out, and we have to speak out en masse, one by one.
Yeah.
Bit by bit, no matter how long it takes, until it is one resonant voice and it goes out into the atmosphere and changes that reality. And that's exactly what Sister's saying. I love that.
Auntie Yawanda, I wanted to know as well, because you know, I've spoken with you. I know that you know how you feel, and you've mentioned it several times here, that you are fighting for your son alone, you're fighting for yourself alone, but you're not alone. Okay. However, I know that's how you feel. So I'm here. All of us are going through stuff. And I'm asking if you're open to at least, if you feel open to having a support group.
I am very open.
Like, if anyone is open for that, if you resonate right now in this group chat,
need that.
You know, if we can do something like that, just a small thing. It doesn't have to be elaborate.
Be big. It doesn't. Just one more person beside myself. Yeah, because I'm exhausted.
We're not just talking about things. We're not just talking about trauma. We are doing now solutionary based healing. Things that, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, okay, therapy. Oh, I'm calling to vent. No, it's like, you know what? I'm tired today. Who can help me watch my son today? I'm tired today. Who can do this for me? Because I got to watch my son.
Who can just be with me and witness some of the things that, some of the things that are going on with my son. You know, like he's like a zombie right now. And just the very simple thing of having, I'll leave that. Yeah, I need the support. The support is coming. The support is here. Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic idea. And if anybody wants to kind of sign up to that, DM me and I will give you Sister Yawanda's details.
Please.
Run it through there.
Please.
But we do have to be mindful with that. I hope you guys realize.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I know that.
Yes, please. Honestly, very much. And I am.
You know already, the infiltrators.
I'm telling. And let me just say. Can I just say one thing? One thing that really should be clear. And there's people in this room who know me now. I can spot a vampire from a mile away.
You can smell them before you can see them. You can smell them.
That happen in a structured way, you know.
Whichever way it is, I can spot it.
But
sight, sounds. That's something I can do. As you said, the portal that I came through has actually strengthened me, and it's strengthened my psychic visions. I am able to help people. I'm able to help people with something I've got to help other people, not just the hands-on stuff, but the spiritual stuff too. Also, I've definitely been called to do something like that, and I thank God again for my family, even for my son who thinks I'm a bit woo-woo, but I know he believes me.
And we spoke about that quite extensively, sis, that psychic ability that is so prevalent in young people that have experienced extreme trauma. you know, and you've
And they
That's
call
all we
them
had.
ADHD.
That's all
And they
we
call
had.
them, what they call them? There's so many labels they give us because they want us to believe we're crazy. Just like they call our natural African traditional practices witchcraft and all these things, but as if witchcraft is even a bad thing. Because if you look up the meaning of what a witch is and what a craft is and put the two together, is nothing bad. But I don't want to get into that right now because that's a whole thing. We can, for people, you know, we can go really into that. What I'm saying is that what you were just saying, sorry, and Auntie Afua was saying was that what you've gone through has allowed you now to detect things. Your cells recognize it. This is not something that's just like, oh, written on paper, you went to university to study it. No,
This has been with me since I was a kid.
It's been trained. It's a signal that goes off in your body that says,
this is what helps me to survive.
It's what helps you to survive. It's what helps you to actually breathe, right?
Help me to come through. If you ask me how I did it, this is how I did it.
This is how you did it.
Absolutely.
This is how you did it. And this is how you're going to continue to do it. And you're going to.
That's why I'm a good reader today. That's why I'm a very good Akashic reader today. That's why.
Correct.
Because I did it. I didn't believe in myself for a long time. I didn't believe that I had this gift for a long time. It's in my family anyway, but I didn't believe I had it. But I had it and had it sharpened from a child. And now's the time to use it properly to support myself, continue to support myself and support other people. And that's it. Not here and now. It's not from here and now. I'm not talking about putting myself forward to anybody here and right now. The only person I can be here for right now is me and mine.
Sister, you wonder,
children.
If you were to leave behind 3 pearls of wisdom for anyone that's struggling right now, even survivors of Glenham that might be watching, what would be those 3 pearls of wisdom that you would give to them that might enable them to free themselves?
Tell their story. Acknowledge your story first. Acknowledge your story. Tell it. And stand by your truth. Believe in yourself. Believe in there's a higher reason and purpose for why you've come here through the portal that you were speaking about to me, Afua, a couple of days ago. Believe your story. Believe your story. Believe the victim. Believe that victim. Believe the survivor. And believe that you are thriving. Believe it. Tell your story. Do not go to the grave unacknowledged. Acknowledge yourself and tell your story. You owe it to yourself first and foremost to free yourself, and you will definitely help to free someone, at least one other person. And you'll be helping to free those of us, children, adult children, who are still suffering today, black and white, and especially those of us of melanated hue, especially those of us of melanated hue.
Especially those back home.
And even those back home, especially who've got the wrong idea about who we are and what we are. And to really help to free yourself, you have to acknowledge yourself. There you go.
Ashe.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. On that note, we're going to start to wrap up. Thank you, Sister Heaven.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, darling.
No, seriously, thank you so much. Like, both of you are such inspirations, okay? And what you both do is it's not an easy thing. I don't like to even use that word. I always tell people words are powerful. Don't say stuff, oh, it's not easy, because it won't be easy. But I'm gonna be real. Like, this don't come with no like sugar coating. Like, people think that this is some gold plated. This is real gold. You know how gold forms? It ain't no easy formulation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, gold plate is quick to make, quick thing. But this right here, what you are doing, what Auntie Afua, what Auntie or One Day are doing, this is something that is generational, yeah? Our descendants and their descendants and their descendants are going to do something for them. Because this is where we draw the line in the sand and we say, enough's enough. And we ain't going to be no bitches. We ain't going to bend over for no one no more, yeah?
Exactly.
We don't care. So I don't even want to speak like these profanities, but I don't care. People are more worried about swear words. I'm thinking about YouTube more than anything. But people will think about how you speak more than what's actually, the force behind why we are rageful like this. Okay? And let me tell you another thing. For anyone that's listening to this, especially the cross watchers, because I know you're in here. This chat is the quietest I've ever seen it, by the way, ever.
I'm telling you.
Anyway, so I know, right? Let me tell you something. The tears of the innocent, you listen to me, the tears of the innocents, transmute into curses for the wicked. So you see when you think you're doing your dirty behind doors,
Oh, heaven.
You don't know that. Didn't you not know that? It's an old thing. Let me tell you that right now. I was told that when I was a little girl and I used to cry. Yeah, because you know what? Every time I cry and them tears drop, so that person drops to later on. Trust me, daddy. Yeah, whether they're dropping an illness, whether it's their child, whether it's their dog, whatever. And I knew, and I was told, your tears did that. Yeah, the tears of the innocent transmit into the curses for the wicked. So you'll never get away with it. Try and know that.
As you said that, Heaven, I recall, as you've said it, I recall that in Jamaica, what they say is "Namek pitney tear pitney yaiwata ketchu." That's how
you see. You see that?
Same thing.
You see that?
Same thing. Absolutely the same.
Yes.
So there you go. No one gets away with anything. No one gets away, and tears are healing. There's a chemical that's released when you cry. So that's about why back in the day, and even in our African traditions, unfortunately, they adopted this from the slave masters. But back in the day, they used to tell you, stop crying. Don't cry. What are you crying for? As they're beating you, as they're abusing you. Stop crying. Slave. Why? Because they knew when you cry, there's two things that happen. The chemical releases out of your body, and it allows that infiltration, that contamination to come out of your system, your cells, like physically. And then scientifically, spiritually, however you want to look at it, it now then turns into the curses for who caused you them tears. So on that note, we return to sender in all realms, realities, dimensions, and polarity. Because it's not for us to carry. It's not. It's over. Everything that we heard today. Yo, everybody, I tell you right now, take time for yourself, including you, Auntie Yawanda. You take time for yourself, because what you have done a very
massage tomorrow, darling. Well, I've got my massage tomorrow. Book my massage for tomorrow. That's a good thing. Yep.
I thought we all need to book a massage for tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? But right now, it's about really processing, taking time, breathing in your nose. Your mouth is only meant for eating, talking, chewing, and not for breathing. You can even form cavities if you breathe in your mouth too much. So if you got any teeth issues, do less breathing in your mouth.
Kevin, you are an encyclopedia.
The nose is only meant for breathing. That's all the nose is meant for. Not your mouth, but they tell you, breathe in your nose and breathe out your mouth. No, actually, when you breathe in your nose and breathe out your nose, every morning when you wake up, count from 100 down to 1 before you get out of bed. So you start from 100 and to 1. Yeah, I promise you, you do that. Oh my God, do it for 1 month. As you're doing that, you're breathing in your nose, holding it, and breathing out your nose as you're doing that before you come out of bed. So you do a wee if you get up, go back into bed and do that. You're going to see how your day starts off differently. That's going to reset the cells in your body. Yeah? It's going to reset your mindset. It's not going to make you then, it's going to actually, if you're somebody that doesn't get out of bed because you're depressed, it's actually going to make you actually get up and make a cup of tea. And then from that cup of tea, you might actually go and do something else. And then something else. Yeah? So we are intelligent. Our body is intelligence. It speaks to us every day. It tells us what we like, what it doesn't like, when we eat this food, how it reacts, all the things. But if you listen to your body and you work with your body, you don't have to rely no more on their drugs and stuff. They're giving us all these drugs for these so-called pains and illnesses and diseases. When the truth is, it's trauma and unspoken trauma that's trapping us. It's not being ourselves, being too apologetic, that's trapping us. When you are learning to be unapologetic in yourself, that's when you're going to be healed. You can be vegan, you can go gym, you can do all them things, you can go to church, it don't matter. Yeah? What matters is when you truly know thyself and you are accepting of yourself, all flaws and all, not perfection, just you as you are now, today, in this moment. Yeah? And on that breath, I will love you all and love you more. Especially Auntie, I'm gonna highlight you.
Here with us in the UK, and you are going to be at His Time Is Up March 2024, my sister.
I've been hiding from people. Thanks for letting me know now, Auntie Afua. I've been hiding from them, but that's even exposed me.
My sister. I know you're no longer in the organisation that you were in His Time Is Up March 2021, I think it was, wasn't it? At that time, you were imparting some of these healing techniques.
Yes,
it'd be good for you to do a workshop, sis. I think.
Thank you. I'm accepting this call, and actually, my son just said to me, Mum, Mr. Usual One just said, have you ever thought about getting a YouTube channel? I know why he's pointed out to me, because 1,000,000 people keep saying that to me. I have been healing myself, and in order for me to give that much energy out, because remember, everything's energy, I'll attach myself
There
to
it is.
people. I have to be able to be grounded fully in that. So I'm doing a lot of the work behind scenes and stuff. I'm really helping the actual community that need me, the people that you don't see. You know, I'm not doing stuff online like I used to and all that no more. The people wonder where's heaven, because I'm healing myself. I'm also doing the community work worldwide. But now I'm ready. Well, you said the workshop and all that, I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready because I've got my stories to tell, which you know about Auntie Afua.
Sister.
Pardon?
I said, I know only too well the journey that you've been on yourself.
You know, you already know. Do you know what I mean? And since I actually spoke to you about the last situation, since I've spoken to you, after I spoke to you, I'm telling you, I don't know what that did. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I spoke to you, I felt funny for like 2-3 days.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, why have I done this? Like, I'm like, oh my God, now she knows. I'm like, she's gonna like make me like. I just felt like, because you know now, I'm gonna have to really like do this work, and actually it's a good thing. And it took away like a little tiny bit of shame that was inside of me, the tiniest bit that was in there, and I now feel like I can breathe, and it's propelled me. You know what? I started fasting. I've been doing my raw foods. You know, like I've lost a lot of weight from it, but I don't mind, because I don't care how my physical body looks. I care more about my soul and my spirit.
You've been filling the prescription, my sister.
I have been really doing what I need to do again. I haven't been binge eating and all them things again. I've been really coming into myself. So I'm ready. Like when I say ready, I'm readier than I've ever been to really like bring heaven to the forefront again and have boundaries with it. Excellent. So thank you.
Big up King Fox in the chats. King Fox.
Yeah, this boy. You know he loves you so much, Auntie Afua. He loves you. When I say he loves you, the boy loves you so. He doesn't stop going on. You are one of his. You are like one of his inspirations. Do you know what I mean? And that always touches my heart.
You're kind of like, how old is Fox now?
He's 11 now, and the 11th of the 11th.
He was about 9 when he first came on. I'm still like, meant to be in his bed still.
You know what? He's not a typical child. You have to understand.
I know
He's not. He really, from the birth, from the belly, he's a shaman. So it's like, after people think, oh my God, how can you let your child even know? But no. Okay, before I go, one thing we need to stop doing is mollycoddling our children, because guess what? Society isn't. There used to be Watershed on TV. I remember back in the day, you couldn't watch stuff, after 9 o'clock or something like that. Now it's free for all. So if they're doing it, we need to let our children know things. I'm not saying throw it down their throats in their, raw and cool.
We need to make children age,
but we have to let them aware of the potential dangers out there and how to protect themselves. You have to teach your child about lying, when it's safe to lie, for them to get out of a situation, little things like that. So if they know, then they are prepared. A lot of us.
When you came on with Fox, it was about 2 years ago. I swear it was about 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago. 2 years. It was 9 years old. Right, almost 9. It wasn't even 9 yet. It was like 9, and I'm telling you, Ocean. I don't know if you know, he had his own show called Fox's Fantastic Fridays from when he was 11 and a half months to 5.5 years old. Yeah, like everybody used to be screaming, going heaven. After they were like, where is he? My daughter's looking for him, because guess what my child was doing at that age? My child was teaching other children about stranger danger, how to protect themselves. He was making it. You're gonna bust up if you see this little baby, like these little boys, like, welcome to Foxy's Fantastic Fridays. Today we're gonna learn about if your family tried to hurt you, not a stranger. Do you understand? So from what he learned from us, he was teaching other children. He's teaching them how to make nutritional milk and ice lollies and these things. And people be thinking like, I'm coaching him. Nah, he was learning from what his example was. A safe home that taught him that actually the world is lovely, but there's also other aspects. And so from that, other parents, parents that didn't even know about stuff like this, they were like, raw. They wouldn't even thought to have, certain things that you teach them, like having passwords. Like if it's a family member and your mum says, they say, your mum or your dad said they're coming to pick you up. Well, what's the password then? Because if that's the case,
that's why
it's
it's
password.
so important to nurture children in that way, to keep themselves as safe as they possibly can. And and that's the work.
Okay.
If sisters like you one day had not been through what they've been through, we would not have that awareness to even pass it on to our children.
Yes.
We wouldn't be able to balance or juxtapose that experience and learn from it and know what's needed. You understand me? But thank you, sis. I'm
All right.
up,
thank you.
Thank you, Heaven. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
darling.
so much.
Really appreciate you, darling. Thank you.
Right,
I really appreciate you all so much. Yeah, big up yourselves. Yeah, be you unapologetically. Unapologetically. Yeah. Listen. One love.
Blessed love, my sis. Blessed love.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you.
Yes, Sister Yewande.
Thank you.
So, how do you feel now, my sister? It's not as nerve-wracking as you thought, I'm sure.
Not at all. I really feel that I've done what I was supposed to do. I took the advice from my higher self and I freed myself by telling that story. I have no fear whatsoever. I plan for tomorrow. My plan is I'm going to have my massage tomorrow, and I can go. I went swimming again today. I went to the sauna. I'm building that practice, because I've come way away from that with the whole stuff that's been happening for the last 2 years. I've come out of my fitness regime, but I'm building that back up. So yeah, and I'm working on things very quietly, where I'm being guided by my spirit and my practice and everything that I've learned to do to take care of myself. I just want to continue to build on that. And as I said, to give back, ultimately, to give back.
Thank you, Sister Yewande. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for trusting us to share in this space as well. It's a big feat. There's been some doubters. I know that you're safe. We've had extensive conversations, like we said, for the last few years anyway, and certainly through this week in preparation for tonight. And I know that you were more than ready to make that release and take the next leap, more than ready, my sister, and also ready for the challenges and the glory that is to come, because I certainly believe in your mission,
the triumph.
I believe in your mission. This is certainly your calling. To help.
Thank you for giving. Thank you honestly for the space that you provided here, and the couple of years that we've been talking. Even as I said before, I went into the house like 2020. I think we first started talking. So thank you for holding this space for me for all this time down to now. Honestly, my heart. Thank you for the amazing work you do, Queen. You are a soldier. You are a soldier of the heart. Thank you.
Bless you, sis. And the work will continue. We're going to keep talking.
Yes, we will. Please.
Time anyway.
Yeah.
There's certainly a place for you in our world, in our town.
Yep.
And there is certainly a place for you in that community doing what Yewande needs to do.
Yes.
And so, an absolute inspiration, my sister. When you watch the live back, you will see that everybody is duly humbled by your story and by your magnificence, because God knows. God knows. God sees and knows.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us, sis.
Thank you, darling. I can go now. Can I go? Thank you, darling. Bye. I don't know how to get out. But don't press.
No, I'll take you out. Don't worry.
All right.
Oh, blessed to that sister there. Isn't she amazing? Isn't she amazing? Wow. Unbelievable. Sis, you can go and watch it on YouTube now. If you want to watch the rest of it, you'll still see yourself, I think, if you take a few minutes. Big love to Sister Yewande. Thank you, Heaven's World. And thank you, Heaven, as always, sis, on the healing journey. So yes, my brothers and sisters, imagine these nasty people. Honestly, it takes my breath away, the level of depravity that was going on. It was almost like it was a hive of paedophilic bees that used to descend on these places. Unbelievable what they were doing to children, and unbelievable that children like Yewande were able to survive that, because so many children did not survive that. So many children ended up on the streets, ended up addicted to drugs, into prostitution, you know, and died very early on, that cannot tell the tale. So it is so important that sisters like Yewande's story is heard, and it's going to be heard in a bigger way, because when Imran Khan is ready to take these people to court, believe me, it will be in the national news. So just remember that you heard the sister share her story first here. She trusted us enough to hold her, as she said, to hold that space for her as well for the last 4 years. And I'm so, so glad that she's got to that point where she was able to make that release, because that is so important, you know. And I think a lot of people don't realize how important that is. Some people say, well, I don't want to talk about it. Make that release. Tell your story. You don't have to tell it publicly in a big way, but at least tell it in a significant way, is what I would say to people. And on that note, my people, have a blessed, 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 blessed weekend. In whatever you do, keep safe, keep strong, and you know, just keep on living and keep on hoping. We're in serious times right now, and I'm going to start opening out the conversation as well to include current affairs and what is actually going on the planet right now, because it's all about keeping ourselves safe and making sure that we're in the right headspace and the right, you know, Sister Heaven pointed it out as well, making sure that we eat right, we think right, we breathe right, and that we are right. All right, so I will see you guys next week on Afua Speaks Community Conversations. Blessed love, my people. Blessed love. Blessed love.